my goodness. Usually I have a really nice PowerPoint all set up and all this, these different things, but I have some really good excuses lined up today. First of all, Mike went to New York on Wednesday, so I'm all alone, just me and the kids. So if that's not excuse enough, I got a dental procedure done on Friday. My mouth still hurts. I can't open my mouth really big. And then Saturday, I had to take the kids to go to a cat expo where there was 170 different kinds of cats, and we kind of had to go see them because they were very cute. And I had to fight cats. There was all these different purebreds, and there was even a competition and everything, and they were very cute, and some were very interesting looking. There's a cat that has this very kind of kinky kind of hair, curly hair. It was very interesting. I'd never seen a cat like that before. And I had to fight really hard not to buy a $900 kitten. It was adorable. I don't know, Mike probably would have been mad, but would have forgiven me because the cat was so cute. But I had to fight it, so that was really difficult for me. And then we had to go to Burger King, and we had to play at the playground, and then we had to go home and go shopping and dinner, and then before you know it, I was out of PowerPoint time. So it was just a very busy time for me. Thank you for understanding. So, all that said, one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot is actually Moses' story, the story of Moses, and how he, freed the Israelites from the bondage of the Egyptians. So we generally know this story. We've heard it many times in Divine Principle. We've heard many lectures on it. But it really inspired me recently. We're good. So as we know, the slaves have been suffering for 400 years due to, failure after 400 years, they were begging, they were praying, please release us from bondage. God, do you hear our cries? And, God heard their cries, and after Moses had fled the palace, he grew up in the palace, and he killed an Egyptian, and so he was like, I'm in trouble, I better go. So he left, and during that time is where he met really God and really made this relationship, and God said, you are the chosen one to go free the Israelites, free my people from the bondage of the Egyptians, of Pharaoh. So they prayed, and their prayer was heard. God heard their prayer and said, it's time, I will help you, I will free you. So first, God sends 3 signs to the Pharaoh. Moses goes and he's like, hey, I got a couple signs just to show you that my God is real. I got a snake and turn it into a staff. My hand is leprous. Woo, look, leprous hand. Look, I have a disease. Woo, no more disease. What was the third one? Oh, was it the River Nile turning the water into blood, which is really creepy if you ask me. One was less creepy, and then a little more creepy, and then the most creepy. So in succession, and it was kind of like, hey, warning, I know what I'm doing. Oh, you don't care. Oh, one more warning, a little creepier than the last. Okay, you don't like that one, guess what? Blood. You like blood? No? Okay. So 3 kind of relaxed, chill signs. You got 3 signs. And Pharaoh was like, no, not gonna happen. So that didn't work. So then God was like, all right, you want to play hardball? Let's do hardball. And he sent 1 plague, and 2 plagues, 3 plagues. And all during this time, every time that a plague was sent, it said, the Bible says, and God hardened Pharaoh's heart. His heart was made hardened. He was angry. He was angry that Moses would do these things. So, as punishment, he couldn't punish Moses, but he could punish the Jewish people, the Israelites, made them work harder, made the rules tougher. And who did the Israelites blame for their current suffering? Moses, they blamed Moses, the man who was trying to help them and make deals with the Pharaoh. It wasn't working, and so they were mad at Moses. Moses is like, hey, I'm trying to help. I understand it's not the ideal situation, but look, I'm going to keep working on it. It's just like a politician, like, oh, I'm supposed to be making things better. You're making our lives worse. Liar of a politician, right? It's kind of maybe what it felt like. So 10 plagues, 10 times Pharaoh hardened his heart. And 10 times he made life for the Israelites even more difficult than before. And every time, who did the Israelites blame? Moses. He could have left well enough alone. You know what? We would rather just, have our old lives of, we thought our lives were hard, but now they're harder than they ever were. How could you do this to us? I blame you. I would rather just go back to the way things were. But we also understand that this was for a purpose. Divine principle explains that in every time that Pharaoh hardened his heart, made life for the Israelites harder, the idea is, first of all, if Pharaoh's just not going to listen anyway, it also allows the Israelites to separate from Pharaoh. So when they are finally free, they go, you know what, life was really bad, and Pharaoh did make our lives really hard. We are glad to be free. Moses, you finally did it. We believe in you, and we don't want that life anymore. We are glad to be free. That's the idea, So it can serve a double purpose. Yes, it was bad, but it was really difficult for the Israelites. But also, when they could be free, they could say, it was so horrible. I remember how horrible it was. I never want to go back. I never want to be in bondage again. So finally, after 3 gentle signs and 10 plagues, one more horrible than the last, till finally, firstborn sons of the Egyptian ruling class, each one dies. That's pretty awful. But finally, Pharaoh concedes, and he says, all right, you win. I can't do anymore. I've lost the only thing that was really the most important thing to me. I can't do anymore. You are free. I'm done with you. So they pack up and they leave, and they're like, okay, I guess Moses did it. If everything's going to turn out all right, and they make it past the Red Sea. Pharaoh tries one last time to say, oh, wait, I take it back. I have seller's remorse. Buyer's remorse? Seller's remorse? I don't know. Either one. He's buyer's remorse, right? I made this deal, and it was a bad deal. He tries one more time to get one last grip, and instead he just loses his whole army. Like literally, there's no way for the Israelites to go back. They've lost everything, and Pharaoh just can't pursue them anymore. They've broken free of Pharaoh. And as you start reading Exodus in these different chapters, it's just each chapter is a new complaint. But we have no food. Okay, I'm giving you food, but we have no water. Okay, I'm giving you water. Okay, but and it's just one after the other. I guess this is where really the Jewish guilt that mothers are so known for has really come from, I feel like. Trying to really guilt Moses into, really recognizing all the horrible things that he's done. So, God has tried to be good to them, but still the Israelites complained. And still, after they were free, they want to go back. And they say, they're whispering to each other, like, where are we going? Sarah, where are we going? Zechariah, where are we going? Zechariah's from the New Testament, whatever. But they're whispering to her, where are we going? Where is Moses taking us? You see this? It's all desert, all sand. How far do we have to go? At least in Egypt, we were fed properly. We had clean water to drink. We had, these different. Was it as bad as we remember? And they keep talking like this, and they can't fully separate from what's going on in Egypt. They remember a certain comfort, and it's so difficult for them to let go of. So after I think it was like 2 to 3 months of traveling and complaining and trying to get on the right course, they said, all right, we're going to chill out, we're going to rest at Mount Sinai. Moses is like, hey, I'm going to go have a chat with God. I'm going to go figure out what's up. I'm going to get some clear direction. I can't walk and pray and solve everybody's problem at the same time. And so it's really hard to hear God over all the noise. I mean, the donkey's braying, the children are screaming, husband and wife are having all these spats and everything. It's just a lot of noise down here. So I'm just going to go up to the mountain for 40 days, okay? I don't think he said 40 days. I think he just went up, and that's the problem. He went up, didn't know when he was going to be back, but that he was like, I'm going to go commune with God. I'm going to get some clear direction. And he was there for 40 days and 40 nights, the Bible says. But meanwhile, the people are like, it's been a long time. I don't know how long they waited. I don't think the Bible says. Maybe they waited 3 days. Maybe they waited, 15 days, or maybe 30 days. Maybe they waited 39 days. I don't know. But at a certain point, they were like, I think Moses is dead. I think he's gone. He died. He's never coming back. So we're going to figure out what we're going to do. We need a new God, and they just lost faith all over again. And they built the golden calf, and they decided, we're going to bring some of Egypt with us. We remember certain things. We know that old fuddy-duddy is gone, Mr. I have all these rules. If I understand correctly, actually, he went up to the mountain, came back with a whole list of rules, and then after that, he went back up the mountain for that 40 days, if I remember correctly. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
that's right? So he comes down, he's like, hey, I'm going to go, and he comes back with all these lists of rules, and it's like the teacher coming into class, and okay, class, here's all the rules, and there's 100 of them, and it's like, what? So he goes back up the mountain, it's like, hey, Moses is gone. There's no one to watch us. We can do whatever we want. Teacher's out of the room. So they go. And they're, they can just, he's gone. We can do what we want. And they just lose faith all over again. And Moses comes down the mountain, and the class is in disarray. Everything's insane. What was it, the Ten Commandments movie? It's depicted as a pretty wild party. So all in all, even after that, more whining, more complaining, more issues. And, we've seen this where we look at a map and we figure out that it would take 40 days to cross the desert into Canaan, I believe, right? Into Canaan. It would take 40 days by foot, But instead, it takes 40 years. 40 years of confusion and wandering around and can't figure it out and can't get on course. As much as people are somehow trying, they can't seem to get there, complaining the whole way. To the point where even this first generation of free people, they don't get to see the promised land. Moses doesn't get to see the promised land. It's the next generation, it's the second generation. The people who have never experienced bondage to begin with. They don't remember Egypt. They don't remember what it was like. They don't remember all the things that they liked, maybe the partying aspect that they seem to have brought to Mount Sinai. But they don't remember the bondage. They have no basis of comparison. They are a clean slate. And they are allowed to go into the promised land, right? This is the story of Moses. This is the story of Israelites freeing themselves from the Pharaoh. And the reason I started thinking about this story was because we had a friend of ours who we were speaking with a lot, Mike and I, and she was going through a really tough time. And we were talking to her, and Mike goes, well, what basically she had spent a lot of time working with a mentor who like influenced her really negatively, and so now she's finding herself in a lot of difficulty and a lot of trouble, and she like doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know how to move forward, and she's just desperately trying to figure out what's her true inner self versus what her mentor has told her to be. So she's trying to sit there and figure it out, and it's like really tough to separate, what's me and what's somebody else? What's the good? What's the evil? Should I switch mics? Am I cutting out here?
It's because of the connection.
Is it the connection? Oh, there it is. Okay. So Mike says, Sarah, we'll call her Sarah, you are Moses and the Israelites, you are Moses and the Israelites kind of rolled into one, and you are trying to separate from the Pharaoh. You are trying to divide yourself. You have been in bondage from this Pharaoh telling you what to do, how to be, how to act, what's right and what's wrong. And you are trying to escape bondage. You prayed, God heard your prayer. And you're going through this difficult time. You're going through this really difficult time. You've had signs all along the way. You had 3 signs, 3 gentle signs. You had those 10 plagues, 10, things that was a little bit worse than the last, till finally we get to the last plague, and it's horrifying, and it's horrible, and it's the path seems to have gotten more and more and more difficult with every sign. And you are trying to separate from Pharaoh. And this experience is not happening to you. It's happening for you so that you can separate from Pharaoh, so you can be free of all the things that have been taught to you that were wrong. But even still, when you come out of it, I know you will come out of it. When you come out of it, you're going to feel free, happy, relaxed, and you're going to say, was life really so bad? I mean, maybe I could go back. I mean, maybe it'll be different because I know myself now. I understand where I stand. I know God's purpose for me, and I'm a little bit different now. So maybe I could just go back into Egypt. I don't have to be under Pharaoh's rule, but I could and still incorporate some of, some things are still okay, right? Are you going to think, after all that hardship, after all that I went through, maybe I still want to go back? It's such an easy, slippery slope. And, and Mike goes, but Sarah, this journey to freedom, I don't want it to take you 40 years. If you keep wanting to go back, keep trying to go back, if you didn't listen to the 3 signs and the 10 plagues, if you keep thinking maybe it wasn't so bad, you have to change, you have to be different, you have to separate from everything. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in the desert wandering for 40 years. God is trying to shake you up, get you to change, get you to listen. And, and I think to myself, we've all experienced this, We realize that we have, a Pharaoh could be big. It could be a big figure or presence in our life. Or it's, something that we're just struggling with on the daily. It could be, something that's holding us back from finding that promised land, so to speak, It could be we're struggling with our patience. We keep getting our, as parents, we get our patience tested all the time. When our children want to live a life that we don't agree with, maybe we're greedy. We hang on to a little bit more money than we should. We don't share. We're not generous. Maybe our health has really been getting in our way, and we've not been taking proper care of ourselves. And it's preventing us from a fuller life. Maybe we're just lazy. Sometimes I feel super lazy. I sit on the couch and I can't move. I can't right now. Sometimes we're so righteous. I'm so right. I know what I'm talking about. I commune with God all the time. And we can't find, compassion and empathy and understanding for someone who thinks differently from us. There's always something that is keeping us trapped in bondage from fulfilling our potential. Our relationships with our spouse, the relationship with our children, relationship with coworkers, relationship with our home, the things that we are supposed to take care of. Things that are controlling us instead of us controlling it, controlling our lives. So, we sit there and we pray and we go, God, listen, I swear to you, if you just, I've never lost the mom weight, and I think to myself, if I could just lose 20 pounds, I swear to you, I would never eat badly again. I would exercise every day. Just give me a little parasite, just 20 pounds, it's all I need. God, please. And we beg and we pray. I had a friend who, he had like this red ring under his armpit, right? And he didn't know what it was. And he's like, it hurts to touch. It looks big and red, and I can't figure it out. And he's praying on his knees. God, please let it not be cancer. Let it not be lymphoma. I don't know what it could be, but please, if I go to the doctor, I haven't been taking care of my health lately. I promise, I pray that I will really take care of myself. I will really take care of my body. I will take care of my relationships. Please let it not be serious, please. And he's begging, he's praying, he's crying. And he goes to the doctor, and the doctor looks at it. Oh, that's a pretty bad ingrown hair you've got there. So just an ingrown hair, that was it. And it's kind of like, oh, that was all. I was in never any danger to begin with. God, remember all those things I said? I was never in real danger to begin with. So, not that I won't try, but yeah, it's not that serious. What did I say? I don't even remember what I said. It was like a couple days ago. And we pray, we ask God to change us. And then sometimes we forget what we promised. We forget that we were going to do better. And sometimes it's, something personal. We ask for and God gives us, there's something in you. Sometimes we're aware of it, and sometimes we're not. We keep coming up against the same struggles. We keep getting tested with our patience. We keep getting tested with our generosity. We keep getting tested on our empathy and compassion. And we keep thinking, God's sending us some signs, some hey, you need to change. You need to do something different, better. You can do it. Here's one gentle sign. Here's 2 gentle signs, 3 gentle signs. And we are not listening. And we keep the same problems keep coming up. And they seem to be getting worse. We seem to keep having these same problems. We can't solve it. And our life, feels like it's spinning out of control because we're not listening to the signs. And when things start getting worse, sometimes it's not even just God raining down upon us. When we're not taking care of our health, the natural consequence is that we feel sick. We're feeling, our bodies are not working the way that they're supposed to. And we say, God, why did you do this to me? We don't blame the Pharaoh. We don't blame ourselves. We blame God, Moses, right? Moses, who's trying to help us. God, who's trying to help us. God, who's trying to, he made our bodies innate with this feeling of, you're sick because you're unhealthy, get better, do something different.
Yeah.
And we don't hear it. And then we blame God. Why did you do this to me? How dare you? I pray, I go to church, I try and be kind to my children, and yet you keep bringing these problems to me. Why? Why do you make my life difficult? So this has been, trying to figure out, there's all different ways in my life, personally, that I'm trying to separate from Satan, separate from this divide, And it's just a tragic misunderstanding. We keep blaming God for these problems when we're supposed to be, they say it's 40 days to separate from Satan, right? 40 days to separate from the Pharaoh, right? They say there's this common idea that it takes 21 days to create a new habit. Actually, that's been disproven. It takes 21 days to get used to the idea of something. But it usually takes anywhere from 3 to 8 months for it to become permanent, on average. So it's something that you're fighting every day. Every day that the Israelites are in the desert, they needed to think, okay, here's how far we've come. I have to remember, I have to bite my tongue. I have to, really control what's going on. I'll get there eventually. But right now, it's just a time of struggle. Right now, I just need to get through this. Right now, I need to put in the work, do the work. And I will come out on the other side. We joined, many of us, I didn't join this church. My parents did, And as we talk, for many of the first generation, they made a big shift, trying to break from the Pharaoh. And I think many of us have reached a promised land, in different ways. I feel like if our family's intact, if we have good relationships, we've reached, a part of the promised land. But there's a lot of us who, a lot of parents, a lot of situations where it's still difficult, They're still complaining all the way through the desert. And along the way, they've lost their family, they've lost their health, they've lost, they lost their children. And there's no promised land in that. It's still desert, And I understand. They were doing the best they can, I was talking to a friend of mine, and, she was saying her dad had a really difficult life growing up. And the best, he figured he was doing a good job just because he stayed married to her mom. Like that was literally the best that he stuck around, and that was the best that he could do. And maybe it was, the fact that maybe in himself he thought, I could leave just as our dad left our family. We could just go, we could just leave. But I'm fighting every day to be a part of this family, and that is the best I can do. And maybe I don't reach the promised land, but maybe my child can do better. And maybe my child will make it, the next generation, the second generation, and for those reasons, we didn't have to grow up in bondage. We didn't understand, as a second generation, we didn't have to go through all the struggles of what it was like to be under Pharaoh's rule. And that's pretty incredible, honestly. To never have a whip to our back, to never have to be forced to live a certain lifestyle because the ruler of this world said so. And I feel so grateful that I was born, maybe in a wilderness time, but I was born into freedom. And that's worth a lot. So, I think I'm going to pause it there. I actually do want to open up for a discussion. What was that? A pause?
I pushed the pause button.
Pause button. We do like to have our discussions. So I guess you can decide. I'm not going to sit here and say it has to be 3 or 4 people, but decide who you want to share with. Maybe it is 3 or 4 people. Maybe it's just you and your spouse. But having a discussion on where is your bondage? What is holding you back? What have you been fighting against? What 3 signs and 10 plagues have been coming your way? And you haven't been listening, or you've been trying and fighting, So we'll take about 10, 15 minutes. Hopefully we each get a chance to kind of say something. Again, I had a lot of excuses as to why I don't have them listed, but I think you get the idea. Share something that's keeping you in bondage and how you feel like you're trying to separate from Pharaoh, separate from Satan. So let's take about 15 minutes. Does anybody know what time it is?
10:55.
10:55. Okay, so 11:10. Is that right? Did I math correctly? Yes. So 11:10, we'll have a closing prayer together.